Well, hello, glorious people of the interwebs, and welcome back to Red Dead Redemption 2. Today we're back on Arthur in the Epilogue, and we've actually got clothes on today, so that's cool. I figured we'd go back to Arthur's OG clothing that he'd have at the beginning of Chapter 2. We are freely in the Epilogue. We can even do missions as Arthur, which is really cool, but today we're doing something that is probably even more amazing. And I'm going to be showing that at some point in the development cycle of Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur was actually meant to be able to freely explore at least the area around Blackwater. I'm going to be showing this off in this video today with one actually really interesting Easter egg that's available just outside of Blackwater before you get into Manzanita Post. Now, where we're going right here is if you pin right here, there's like this imagery of like this goalie, and in here you're gonna find the crashed circus wagon. Now, for those of you that played a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 and played as John later in the epilogue, you know that John acquires Arthur's journal. And one thing that you're going to notice is that not only can John barely read, he can't swim, he also can't draw. Now, Arthur, surprisingly, is a really good artist. And one of the things that I noticed while we were live streaming is that I checked this out, and it was very clearly the artistry of Arthur Morgan and not John Marston. And what I've also noticed while I've been messing with this is that the game does register that Arthur is in this particular area. If we try to go into New Austin, even though we're able to freely explore Blackwater and stuff like that, if we try to get to New Austin, we're going to get shot from invisible snipers, which is actually really frustrating. But the rest of the game does register that Arthur is, in fact, freely roaming here in Blackwater. And it's going to be very obvious when we inspect the wreckage of the circus wagon here. And we're going to get to see Arthur's actual artwork for this particular investigation. The drawing is significantly better than John. I'm going to show it off here as well. But we can read this. I think the stuff that's written here is the same. So, found a circus wagon train in a mess and all destroyed. Actually, the text is different too, and I'm going to show off what John writes right now. Now, thankfully, I had a save where I actually haven't found this on John yet, so we're able to see exactly what he does when we inspect it. You can see that the drawing is obviously completely different and really bad. John needs to work on his artistic skills, and we've got some different... It's so bad. I can't really say anything because that would probably be better than what I could draw. But regardless, let's read this here. Now, found a wagon from a circus all lost and abandoned. So similar to what Arthur says, but in fact different. Now, the real interesting thing here is not only is the drawing different that John and Arthur draw, but the fortunes that you can get from Madame Irene here are different too. And that is the part that I find extremely interesting about this. For those of you that don't know, you can, in fact, get fortunes from this little device. If you walk up to it and punch it with B or circle, you get fortunes.
It has become obvious that your goals cannot be reached, as you cannot fulfill the simple goal of shaving.
So Madame Irene really likes to make fun of John's beard. I don't know why, but she does. But we're going to go over the fortunes that John hears, and then we're going to show off Arthur's too.
Yes, here we are. The hair of the dog gathers briars by midday, then pants in the shade. I am consulting the clouds for your fortune. Yes, here it is. A chicken and an egg are equal metaphors for your journey. I am tired and cannot fathom reaching into the deep recesses of my psychic wisdom. Please, come back another time.
So we can actually come back quite a few more times. I think when I originally recorded this on John, I was able to come back 6, maybe even 7 different times and get different fortunes. Before we go into more of them, I do want to show the differences when we go to this as Arthur. All right, we're back here on Arthur. Back on the PlayStation. And let's give this a little smackaroo, shall we?
A fortune seeker, I shall provide. A penance is admirable, but you have elevated it to a level such that you might soon perish. fine sustenance, and you will no longer require wisdom from a machine.
So right there, Madame Irene literally predicts Arthur's death.
Listen closely for your fortune. You are a pastured donkey that bays wistfully at the sunset, having ignored the blissful ignorance of being a beast of burden.
Right, so she makes fun of John's beard and calls Arthur a donkey.
Behold, and hear your fortune from the magnificent Madame Irene. A tree is known by its fruit until it falls and decays, and its fruit only fed scavengers and savages unappreciative of its gifts.
Huh.
I am tired and cannot fathom reaching into the deep recesses of my psychic wisdom. Please, come back another time.
I am curious to know more of the fortunes from Madame Irene. We're going to go over that, but I do want to have you guys leave some comments down below with what you think of these first few fortunes for Arthur Morgan, and what you think about the changes to the game that Arthur was meant to, at one point in the development cycle of this game, make it into Blackwater and be able to explore this area. I don't think it can be disputed at this point that that was actually the case. Now, one thing that's interesting about the first fortune, as she says when Arthur's going to perish and predicts his death, she says that he needs to get sustenance. And for those of you that don't know, the other name for tuberculosis is consumption. Thought that was pretty interesting and something I should point out. One other thing that I want to point out while we're here, which I completely forgot about, was the Easter egg for Bully. I never really showed this off on the channel, but it's definitely cool. I thought it would be something cool to point out because we're actually playing through Bully right now on the channel. If you haven't checked it out, feel free to do so, but let's check out some more of these fortunes.
I have reached into the great beyond for your fortune. You will come to a crossroad, and before you make a decision, eat. You have mistaken clarity for veracity. A meal would serve you better than any sermon.
So another reference to consumption.
You have come to the great Madame Irene, seeking your future. Listen closely. Your vices gently persuade you into misery. Oh, but please embrace them fervently. I have been waiting for you. Here is your fortune. A drought is no time to have a draft. Keep your eyes dry and your lips wet with whiskey. You cannot produce an endless fountain of wisdom simply by tossing coppers. This is the only way of producing endless loyalty among the political class. Please come back later.
So far we've had a lot of predictions basically around his death and Dutch's betrayal, or just general not really caring for Arthur. And let's see if there is any more new ones.
Hello, wanderer. I am looking deep into my crystal ball. Yes, here we are. Craving and famine may season the mind, but you would be wise to indulge in a supper, for you will soon lie down and wallow in famishment, which is a terrible way to court a wife.
So more things about consumption again. Seems like the first one's always about that.
The clouds for your fortune. Yes, here it is. Before you seek to fulfill your soul, try your belly first. It grumbles to a deafening degree. I have been waiting for you. Listen, as Madame Irene is an endless fountain of wisdom, as long as you have the silver. Toil as if money is no object, yet covet and hoard it, and perish so that distant relatives may feud in blood endlessly over it. If you are so greedy for knowledge, I suggest visiting a place of learning.
So, this is only a few of the actual fortunes that Madame Irene can provide for us. On John, you can actually get different ones depending on your honor level. Right now, we are honorable as Arthur, so I imagine if we get dishonorable, will get different fortunes too, and there's probably still more fortunes to be had. And possibly in another video, what I'm going to try and do is get max honor and get all the fortunes, and then get complete dishonor and get all the fortunes there as well. But I figured this was really interesting, and I'm really happy that I decided to do this and check this out, because there's definitely signs here that Arthur was at some point meant to be here in the story. I don't know why it was cut out. I'm not 100% sure on what the deal is with that. But obviously he was meant to be exploring this area probably long before Chapter 6, because some of the fortunes there, I think, relate to the conversation that Arthur has depending on his honor. When you go back to the train station, you either talk to the lady that you find in Red Dead Redemption 1, I can't remember her name all of a sudden, or you talk to the preacher, depending on your honor level, and that's one of the fortunes that was available. I think Madame Irene references that, but regardless, I do hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want another one where we try and get all of the fortunes for dishonorable and honorable Arthur in the epilogue, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.